What started as a revolution with automating an email response has spread to nearly every marketing channel today. Be it WhatsApp message, email, messenger, or any other form of communications, brands are automating their responses on every channel to ensure a uniform brand experience. To elaborate this further, we have invited a panel of industry experts to discuss brands leveraging automation. I would like to invite Lalit Bhagia, Senior Expert, McKinsey, to moderate the discussion. Over to you, Mr. Bhagia.
Welcome everyone. I think we have a great panel here. We have CMOs from one of the 4 largest organizations in India. We have Abhinav, who's been doing automation for multiple clients through the years. And we are talking today about brands leveraging automation. We all know, automation itself, the journey of automation, right? From the time when we used to just send a simple email, which used to be still called automation, to now where we have a full-fledged MarTech stack or a marketing technology stack that companies implement to really make automation work, right? And there is also a whole discussion about marrying of what was typically CRM with now what is now called as advertising. So there's this whole marrying of ad tech and MarTech happening, and automation is actually moving to a completely different level where customer journey, right from acquisition to retention to loyalty and advocacy, is actually being automated in some form or the other. So as a start, it would be great if each of you panelists can actually introduce yourself. Just don't talk about what you do and what's there on your LinkedIn profile. Tell us one thing that people who are hearing you also don't know about you, something nice, something interesting. So let's start with you, Sriram. Why don't you go ahead first?
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Lilith. Thanks for getting us on this panel. I'm Sriram Padmanabhan. I'm the Vice President Marketing for Nissan in India. One thing that is interesting about me, so professionally, I started as a finance guy. So the first 6 to 7 years of my career was hardcore finance, statistician. And lo and behold, I've been in marketing for almost 15 years now. So quite a different personality. So my media guys and my agency guys are quite afraid of me when I ask for details and metrics. So that's maybe something that my agency guys need to know about me.
Wow, what a contrast, Sriram. I think a marketer who knows the finance numbers so well, and there's no question of ROI ever coming to you then.
Yeah, prefer that way. Yeah, that's good. It's a tough market, and I think it's critical for us to conserve all cash and make sure we drive revenue through all the marketing dollars that we spend.
Fabulous. Shashank, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Shashank Srivastav. I'm the Executive Director for Maruti Suzuki in India. I like to connect reality with philosophy. So that is the thing which I always look at in whatever activities we do. So that's something which I love to do. I don't know whether the teams like it, but...
That's very interesting. Philosophy into marketing. I'm sure there'll be very many interesting conversations you have with your teams, with your agency partners, with all your other colleagues, right?
Yes. It's a connect to God and the universe.
Oh wow! So there is spirituality
just
also.
Joking, just joking.
Okay, Rima, do you want to go next?
So Rima, lead the digital for Vodafone Idea. So unlike a lot of you, I'm not a marketer, but more on the tech side of the things, and have around 20 years of experience in tech, and closely working with the marketing organization in order to drive MarTech automation. An interesting thing about me is love traveling. It's just that COVID has not done quite a justice to it, and really waiting for all the restrictions to open up so that I could travel.
Oh, so we've got really interesting people in the panel: a finance person who's a marketer, a philosopher who's a marketer, and now a technologist who's a marketer. Abhinav, why don't you go next?
Sure, thanks, Lalit. So, okay, as far as the LinkedIn profile is concerned, I am the co-founder of Nisway. We, implement marketing automation solutions for other organizations. We are an agency. Been doing it, I think, as a digital marketer, I've been into this almost 14 years now, and the marketing automation space, I think 5 or 6 years now, specifically in this space. Interesting thing. So I'm a big, football fan. I follow a club called Manchester United. And as a kid, when I grew up, they used to win almost all the tournaments. So I used to be the one, always the one with the loudest voice. But last few years, they have been really doing poorly, and I'm the one who made the most fun of. So yeah, times change, and I think you guys can also make fun of me in that case if anyone of you follow football.
I know I don't want to talk about what happened a few days back. I'm
Oh,
sure it will
okay.
be very, very sad day for you.
Yeah, yeah. We lost to
Yeah.
Liverpool, and then at the same time, India lost to Pakistan. Yeah, really sad day.
So Abhinav, I just wanted to ask whether you play football, because in that case we'll have a footballer also who is a marketer.
Not anymore. I was part of the school team, but yeah, that's where it ended.
Right.
No, so there's an entrepreneur who's a marketer in that sense. And
Yeah, I
I
try
think
to
that,
bring a lot of sports philosophies into, when I'm training my team, I try to bring a lot of those philosophies. And I love watching those movies where, the coach is the hero, not the player. Yeah.
got it. Okay. Let's go with Sandeep. I think, Sandeep, are you a chef who's a marketer as well?
No, not at all. In fact, this is my third industry. So I started my career in pharmaceuticals, and
Oh.
I worked there for about 3.5 years. And then I decided that, given that my passion lies in making ads at that point in time, young age, was very passionate about maybe making TV series or ads. So decided to move to FMCG, where I spent uh, almost like more than a decade then after that. And then decided that after FMCG, what next? And wanted to experience this new age marketing. So about 3 odd years back, moved to food tech as an industry. So first in Zomato and now at Domino's. So this is the third industry which I'm working at. And honestly, I also, in terms of passion, have changed from possibly creating those TV series and that being a passion to data-driven marketing, because data is like so exciting and so I would say insightful to work with, where it guides your decision making, and it kind of the avenues or the opportunities which are there in the new tech consumer tech environment are so exciting that it's just a new passion which I've developed possibly and will continue for some time, I would say.
Got it. And one interesting thing, which is your favorite pizza?
Guess what? Yeah, I like it plain. The margarita one is really the one which I really relish.
Okay, so it's a very interesting panel. Shashank sending us a car for the weekend. Shriram is taking us to the Bhuj circuit for a ride, and Sandeep serving the pizzas, while Rima gets us all the connectivity out there, and Abhinav, as an entrepreneur, makes it all happen. Awesome, great guys. Yeah, that would be one good experience. Okay, great. I think let's start with the panel discussion. Market automation has been spoken about so much now, and not just automation, but MarTech itself is becoming a word that is just dropped everywhere, right? Everybody you speak to, every marketer you speak to will talk about MarTech in some way or the other. The question is, what does it really mean, right? What is automation for you? What is MarTech for you? What are the tools that you typically use to really run MarTech? We could start with Shashank this time.
Basically, what is happening now is that in the entire consumer journey, right from the time when he decides to buy a car or any product, and up to the final stage. And final stage here doesn't mean end with the sale point. Like in cars, it's also about loyalty. It's about building those connects after sales and so on. So I think the entire process is now, thanks to a lot of help from the digital technology, we are able to map it much more closely and personalize it. And that enables us as marketers to automate many of the repetitive or the manual tasks which we used to do. and which were less accurate and less personalized. So for me, it is something which is personalizing this entire customer experience, thereby helping approaching the customer with your communication message, and even to make a faster conversion. Adding, of course, you can use it for cross-selling, upselling, and so on and so forth. That I believe is what the automation does. It's, of course, it's more efficient. Of course, it reduces human errors. You have many. You can allocate more resources to other things like strategy or content or brand consistency. You can use it for your time for KPI measurements or creative problem solving. So those are enabled by the fact that you are able to automate many of the things. So it's not just that email thing, but a lot of other things which you can do, both with the time that is available to you and also with the other processes which might be very important for acquisition of customer and retention, and for the retention of the customer.
Got it. So you're speaking about personalization at scale, right? And using that as a way to automate and basically automating a lot of processes to basically personalize that scale. That's basically what you're speaking about. What are the different components of a MarTech for Maruti? What are the components? Have you invested into a customer data platform, a campaign management system? You want to quickly tell us about that?
Yes, I can. Actually, we started for the transaction data because, car is a very involved purchase. So it's not just buying a car, but later on, the servicing, the insurance buying, the accessory purchase, fuel purchase, and so on and so forth. This is a long journey of about 7-8 years for a single car. So we have at the very beginning started, that was around 15 years back, actually, tracking what we call a single view of vehicle, SVOV. And that was through a DMS process where we had all the transactional details. Remember, we have, being the market leader, we have almost a 2 crore database of consumers. So we have 2 crore, 20 million people who we maintain data for transaction. But going forward, 2018 onwards, we are trying to convert that SVOV to SVOC, which is a single view of customer. And that means what we are doing is we have invested in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, the SFMC, where we are using the interactional data, stitching it with the transactional data provided by our DMS, having a SVOC, and that's providing us a great personalization, because we know the consumer very well, not just people who have purchased car from us, but people who intend to purchase cars from us. So we are using it for servicing of vehicles, for selling value-added services, insurance, finance, so on. We also have deployed Sitecore. It's something which, it's a content management system, which personalizes the website, in the sense that when you approach our website, it goes back, sees your history and personalizes content for you, including from. We have also invested in CDP, customer data platform, where basically we have all this data in a lake and we do this automated marketing campaigns. We're using it for many purposes, including things like ad suppression, therefore adding to our ROI on marketing investment. So more personalized. And we are using now advanced analytics, really advanced AI and ML analytics, where we can actually predict the conversion which can happen on any inquiry, and so it is helping us in lead qualification, in lead prioritization, thereby saving on salespeople time. And so these are some of the things which we have been doing. We've invested, of course, hugely in social listening tools also. Sprinklr is what we use, and therefore very recently we started the voice, the chat box and the voice bot, which is enabling us to having less dropped calls, or even in unusual times if consumer want to interact with our brand. So we have invested big time, and today I'm happy to tell you that 25% of our sale actually comes from these automated campaigns that we have. So that's a pretty large sum now. We keep investing now as we have better connectivity and more computing abilities. So we are surely we are investing huge amounts now into our digital in automated marketing processes.
Okay, perfect. Looks like you have all the core elements in place. At McKinsey, we call it data, decisioning, design, distribution, and measurement. And you've literally spoken about all of them in place. Fabulous to hear. Sandeep, do you want to go next and tell us about what does automation mean to you, and what does it mean in terms of the MarTech stack?
So for us, if I look about automation, basically in terms of new customer acquisition for us is a very important avenue of growth for us. And there, if we look at all the partners which are available in the market, be it Singular, AppsFlyer, etc., they help a lot in terms of acquiring these new customers, and also not just acquiring these new customers, but also measuring their LTVs, etc., and helping out in terms of fine-tuning our campaigns or acquisition campaigns or app download campaigns, which kind of drive our CACs as well as ROAS, and further kind of fine-tune these campaigns which are there. So that's the part which we actively and very importantly use these MarTech stacks for. But apart from that, if you look at also the existing customer base which we have developed, Domino's is one player in the market which actually kind of works, has got a huge base of app users. Although it's not an aggregator like a Zomato or Swiggy, we have a huge base of app users which is there. And we also therefore do a lot of re-engagement via CRM tools for our existing users. And as I talked in the beginning, in FMCG, you have to wait for a TVC to actually show results for 6 or 8 weeks. After that, only you get to know it's working or not working. When you use a CRM tool, and that to a tool wherein you have done segmentation and you have developed a customized journey for each of the segments, you actually know whether your messaging for each of those segments is working or not. And in those, these CRM tools are invaluable, whether it's in terms of segmentation or setting up these journeys wherein you reach out to them, or actually also capturing the drop-offs from the funnels, because these are leaky buckets which we need to pluck and win back these consumers. So therefore, these tools, as Shashank also mentioned, take away a lot of manual nature of the work, make it logic-based or rule-based. Also, these interfaces make it very amenable for the marketer to kind of set up these journeys and auto-target these users if they fall in a particular bucket. So in today's day and age, and especially for a Domino's, a new customer acquisition and re-engagement is taken care of, I would say bulk of the funnel is kind of protected. You have the new users coming in, and you are also plugging in the leaky buckets. So you have a healthy business, hopefully, at your hands. All with the help of the tools, the MarTech stacks which these tools have.
Got it. Great, Sandeep. Thanks for sharing that. So you're saying both from an acquisition perspective as well as from a retention and LTV growth perspective, you have your entire component stack into place, and the CRM or the campaign management tool basically is at the center of all of that. Got it. Okay, let's hear it from the technologists among us. Rima, why don't you tell us more about how things are being managed at Vodafone?
Sure. So in our organization, like any other consumer-facing organization, right? We kind of understand that it is important to automate the entire stack. That's where the real opportunity is, and to create a personalized omni-channel experience. But more than that, right? In telco or any other consumer facing segment, customer has many options, and there is a very little time. So even a seconds delay, right, in his journey, in his or her journey, there's a you lose the customer. They drop out from the journey, and that means really a lost opportunity. And that's where we are, leveraging automation in order to, provide an end-to-end real-time experience. And how do we ensure that we are creating our journeys in a way so that, we don't lose those customers, and create our journey super simple. So as, mentioned by Sandeep, digital acquisition is, key to us. In fact, we want to double down our overall digital acquisition, ambitions. And that's where, what we have done is right from identifying the right segmentation, using our data lake or data management platform, running campaigns on our own asset, 3P asset, and finally, looking at measuring the effectiveness of the campaign. We've kind of automated a lot of those, legs. But not only that, one of the other things which we are doing is running a lot of on-page experiments. So once, a customer lands into our page, how do we make sure that the journeys which we are designed, leading into conversion? And that's why we run a lot of on-page experiment using tools like Adobe Target to do, A/B testing and see what are the journeys which are, successful and leading to conversion, and taking, right corrective measures and changing the journeys and creating the right landing pages. So that's really on the acquisition piece. The second piece which we are using, automation is again on our app. Today, we have a huge base of our customer who come to our app, and that's where we are creating a lot of hyper-personalized experience, where we are using algorithms for the app to decide what are the experience which we want to give to our customer, and what are the offers which we need to roll out based on the customer persona. So these are some of the areas where we are effectively using automation and automation.
As I hear it, it's a lot about customer experience, right? And which is basically what you're focusing on, whether is the experience on the website and an app, and how do you hyper personalize that? And that's basically the core from your perspective that you're focusing on. Got it. Okay, let's go to the man with the amazing car behind. Sriram, you wanna tell us more about how you're driving sales of such nice expensive cars using your MarTech stack?
I think definitely helping us sell our more mass model, which is the Nissan Magnite. I think what I've learned, and I'll pick from what Shashank mentioned, right? Philosophy, right? Charles Darwin says, it is not the strongest who survives, it is not the most intelligent who survives. The person who survives is the highest adaptability to change. Those are the guys who survive. And that's really what we've tried to do in the last couple of years. Our focus is actually in getting closer to the customer faster. So whether it's lead time taken to get to a customer from lead drop to the time we call them, whether it can come down from 2 days in the past to 15 minutes, whether it's about making sure that every lead is scored in an AI based in terms of various parameters that we can bring, so the dealer knows which lead to pick up faster, because that's the hardest part in the digital space. The dealers always look at walk-ins and showrooms as their core source of business. They don't look at digital as a core source of business, as long as they see the benefit coming through, or if they are buying it themselves. And we had to get into a space where we're actually giving value to every lead that we generate. And that's really worked very well for us in terms of providing lead scores. Also in terms of social media messaging, right? We have a tool called SSRE, where we are using AI-based response tools, which improves our ability to connect with the customer. So right now, I would say 30% of there's a lot of machine learning that's happening on the go. Almost 30% of our queries are now responded through an AI tool, which helps us manage our ability to connect with the customer in a more efficient manner, but also very effective, because we're responding at 24/7 and very quickly, we are able to look at both positive and negative remarks, and that's the real nature. But of course, like when we do the basic things which are required, having a CDP, Salesforce, CRM systems. I think two things which have helped us, which we believe has changed the way customers interact with us for Nissan in India. One is our virtual sales advisor. So we've kind of introduced a system where the customer can actually get someone to take over their page and walk them through the car and make a choice of which color they want to buy, which variant, which accessories they want to fit in, personalize the vehicle, look at financing options, and then also look at the exchange value of the vehicle, and then finally close the deal, book the car, and also have an opportunity for the car to be delivered to them. So we've kind of done an end-to-end e-commerce solution for them, which is phygital. When I call it, it's actually got the physical connection with an advisor who's virtually placed, but it's all digitally done. Especially during COVID, that's helped us a lot. The other thing that has worked very well for us is giving transparency on booking. So Nissan Magnite that we just recently launched a year ago has been quite successful. We've got 70,000 bookings, and what's happened is because of the issues that we have on semiconductors, we've not been able to deliver all the customers quick enough. We've got a lot of waiting, but the most important is managing customer expectations. So on our website, a customer could go on with their mobile number and track their order, get their delivery date, and be able to manage that conversation so that the stress on the dealer network and for us to manage a customer's expectation becomes better and faster, because we are able to provide transparent information, real-time information on the entire process. I think these are the two major changes or I guess upgrades that I've seen. Of course, we do the basic CDB, single customer view, the customer's view of his vehicle in a single platform from sales to service, managing the whole accessorization part. So those are important for us. But these are two additional areas of automation that has helped us, I guess, get closer to the customer during these COVID times, especially.
Thanks for sharing, Shriram. And it looks very exciting. I think especially the push on e-commerce, especially during the pandemic. Two additional thoughts for you, right? You spoke about lead scoring. Do you also do a lot of hyper-local marketing at the dealer level, from a digital perspective?
Absolutely. So,
yeah, go ahead. And how does that work? Do you have a technology around it, or how do you run it?
So we don't have the network that Shashank has here. So we try to get to a customer on a virtual space, and which is helping us a lot, because almost 30% of our bookings are coming through digital, and almost 10 to 15% of our bookings are coming from hyperlocal marketing. So we use the GMB, the Google My Business pages for all our dealers. They're all connected through a common template, if I may call it. A customer could text a customer, call the dealer, or text a dealer and have a actual real-time chat with the dealership. What we're trying to do is provide a customer a unified, consistent experience across the country, but close to them. And trying to make sure that the connection happens almost immediately in real time, because there's so many options of vehicles out there, and the customer will choose to move if we don't kind of hold them back with us. So hyperlocal marketing has been extremely important for us and effective for us, especially during COVID times when customers are not willing to move, and for us to be able to get whatever we can provide them as a service to their doorstep.
Got it. I mean, before I get to Abhinav, I think a question for both you and Shashank. Have you also looked at, for example, a lot of times that, we work with clients and we speak about offer management, offer orchestration, right? In your case, I think a lot of offers is basically linked to maybe the finance deals that you can offer, right? Because otherwise the offer is mainly at a dealer level. Is there stuff that you're doing in terms of, giving financial offers through automation in a certain way? Is there decisioning engines powering that as well? Shashank, maybe you want to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think that's something which we have tried, very recently. We have about 4 or 5 months back, we started the Smart Finance option for consumers, where the end-to-end finance solution is being provided, including the disbursement of the loan. So we have about 30,000 odd loans which are disbursed on this platform. And the philosophy behind it is that you don't allow the consumer to actually deviate from the path he has started. So we have researched and found that there are 26 touch points that the customer goes through when he purchases a vehicle, starting from his first website, query, and then so on and so forth, getting a pro forma invoice and actual delivery. So Shriram mentioned about phygital. So the delivery and the test drive part is physical. You can't really replace it. We can deliver cars at home, but not electronically transfer it like they showed in Star Trek. But till that time, it will be phygital. Of course, we have AR, we have virtual reality thing whereby you can do a test drive virtually. But on in our industry, 80% of the retail is finance. And what we found was there were 3 touch points relating to finance, where the consumer moved out to third-party aggregators or to banks, etc. So it was bad for his experience. The CX wasn't good, but also at the same time, he could move out of our system and thereby be influenced by people like Shriram and Nissan and such people. So we don't want to do that. So we started this smart finance thing, and we are seeing a huge amount of penetration. It's the first time it's tried in India, and it's giving us, yes. So in that sense, we have sort of digitized almost the entire journey of the consumer. And finance was the last sort of straw, yeah. And that is what we had tried to correct. It's given us good result. Our conversion is much better now for those people who come to our finance platform. So thereby indicating that there was always a possibility of increasing our efficiencies for conversion. So yes, we have tried that on our main platform. Yeah.
Oh, great. I think that's what they're all bottom of the funnel customers who are ready to convert. And I think sometimes this just becomes the last leg to get the conversion going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shriram, any experience on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of, so customers are always looking for a deal, right? And always they believe that the best deal is happening when they have face-to-face conversations at the doorstep of a dealership, right? But what's happening right now in a scenario today where supply is lower than the demand, and there are cars which are now on bookings, they are looking to get quicker conclusion in their transaction. And that is something that our ability to connect with the customer quickly virtually and being able to offer and build deals for them based on the geography that they present in. Delhi is a big market. East is a different kind of market, requires a different kind of treatment. And South, of course, is quite different as well. So in terms of offer building, in terms of even financial offers, exchange values, those are actually almost defined by geography. And there is an opportunity for us to get the customer having a slightly different offer, even geographically. Now, when we go back to the dealer GMB, which is more hyperlocal, the offers are actually built by the dealer themselves on their page for the customer that we are providing through our OEM marketing. So there's a lot of, I guess, last mile transaction now happening on the virtual space than ever before, right? Because people are looking to close a deal faster so that they don't have to get exposed as much.
No, I've somehow realized that sometimes getting the right models into place for running your personalization is the core of it. I think everybody gets the components well, but the decisioning engine, the models in between, we actually spend a lot of time doing that. Sometimes are the edge over everything else that you do with the right model, the right prediction, the right channel, the right timing, the right offer. In your case, the right finance becomes really the edge. And in the stuff Rima is doing, the right experience in that sense, right? It becomes the edge. So we've spoken a lot about consumer marketing. Abhinav, you worked a lot, I guess, in the B2B space as well, right? You've been a HubSpot partner for a long time. Let's talk completely different stuff. Tell us about automation in B2B. Maybe the stuff about account-based marketing, which will be very interesting. And what does a typical stack look like for B2B?
In general, theoretically in B2B or in B2C, the pattern is the same. We look at how the customer starts off, the first touch point, what all points do they interact with in the buyer journey, and then eventually to the sale, and leading from there to upselling and cross-selling to them, right? So the pattern is obviously the same. The difference is that when we are selling to other businesses, especially to enterprises, I think the game is that there are so many decision makers and influencers involved in the decision making that we have to take care of that part. It's not just when you're, for example, when you're selling a car, maybe 1 or 2 people of a member of a family need to be influenced, right? Maybe at most 4 people, right? But in the B2B space, we are generally looking at 5 to 15 people that have to be influenced in the journey, right? That is one part of it. The other complication of B2B is that we are always looking at a very large, sale. I mean, the duration of the sale, right? So it could go anywhere between 3 to 9 months, usually what we've seen. Sometimes we've even seen deals close in like 2 years, right? So for that, how do we ensure that, all my data is there, all my systems are working? Is the nurturing continuously happening during that, 6 to 9 month period in general, right? Am I able to make use of all that data to make the content more personalized? Can I create more personalized content based on what behavior the user has done? I think that is where we do a lot in the B2B space. So that's the only change I will say. Because when a customer is or a prospect is looking at our website or our product, they may have seen it once. Then after 2 weeks they will come back again, look at another thing, right? So are they going through the journey from awareness to consideration to a decision making phase? Are they pulling in the other decision makers into the process? Right. So all those things is what is this automation is enabling us to do. So with systems like HubSpot and all, what we've been able to do is identify scores, not at a lead scores, not at a individual level, but at an account level, right? So within, let's say if I were to target McKinsey, right? So how many people in McKinsey have viewed my content? How many of them are really engaged? How many of them have downloaded or watched my video, right? So when we start seeing things like that, we know that okay, based on, let's say we put assumptions, and when the score of this account reaches 1000, this is the time to get the sales guy to talk to the person who is most engaged, right? So those kinds of things we are mostly doing in B2B. And then then once the account is converted, the upselling part comes in. So let's say again, let's say we have happily converted you as a customer. Then we would want to convert other departments within McKinsey who could work with us, right? So we will create a customized, personalized landing page that okay, hey, here is how Lalit's team is doing for us, and then you use that landing page to show it to the other department of McKinsey, because then I will want to if I'm in McKinsey again, I will want to be I will want to be acquainted with okay, what are the other departments doing, right? That will be of more interest to me rather than just wanting to know what are people doing in general, right? So those kinds of things we are looking at more in the B2B space, at a mostly just going by at what is needed at an account level. The systems are usually the same. The CRM is generally the single source of truth. We try to integrate all of this into a Dynamics or a SAP or whatever you're using at the back end. They get it all together, but get the business guy, the business head to look at a single source of truth, so that they know that okay, if the marketing guy has to be told something, or the sales guy has to be told something, or even the finance guy has to be briefed something, right? So all of them have that single source of truth. Unlike in the consumer space where we get a lot of these SMS, for example, right? Hey, your bill is due, and at the end it will say please ignore if you've already paid. But right, so I find it very funny that the systems have to be integrated to for the customer it's the experience, right? So you have one single source of truth, and the customer also goes through that journey. So the B2B space, the systems, these are integrations that we really get into one single piece, and mostly are governed by the starting at the CRM.
Got it. Oh, very interesting. I think it's a very different. I mean, while the stack's the same, but it's a very different world, right? You have a few thousand customers that you're literally going after, versus in the consumer space, we possibly have a few million customers or a few 100,000 customers that we're looking at, right? So every lead is so important that you can't really let it go in that sense. One thing that I've really seen, and this is possibly for all of you, right, that maybe getting the stack is one part of it, right? But making it work is another part of it, right? As I think there's a famous quote from Rumi, which says, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world, which means I got the MarTech stack going. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself, right? And I've realized that to really make it work, it's a lot about change management, right? And it just doesn't happen, right? There are issues with getting the data into place, right? Just getting the data cleansed up in a perfect manner, which is usable, is one problem. There are reports that say that 58% of the MarTech features are not even used by marketers, right? So you end up over engineering. You buy such a good stack, you invest so much on it, but somehow you're not able to use it. Sometimes you go and do best in class and they don't talk to each other. So the MarTech architecture breaks in certain ways. Getting ROI is one part of it, right? And then, even getting the right team members, right? There are, everybody says that, do I have the right team to even run a MarTech stack, right? I think there was a report in 2020-21 I read, which said only 24-25% of marketers said I have the right team to run a full scale personalization and scale running my stack. Let's give it up. We've spoken about all the rosy things. Tell us the challenges you face to really make this happen, right? To make this seamless experience happen, from offline to online, from online to phygital, from one CX to a fabulous personalized CX with component level personalization possible. Tell us the where to. Whoever is listening should know that it's not an easy going. It's not about just putting the stack together. Sandeep, why don't you start? You've seen both sides. You've seen a startup side of it. Now you're in an enterprise. You've seen different industries. So talk us about the challenges that you face to really make it work.
Two challenges, and one of them I would say is very basic level. The tech team's bandwidth or the product team's bandwidth is always limited in any company you work in.
I knew that was coming. It's always IT versus marketing, is it?
So that's a harsh reality.
There's a technologist sitting here, Sandeep.
So the marketing team may have 10 agenda items, and when you discuss their roadmap with them, you would be lucky if you get 2-3 in there, because always you're competing with the other big changes which are there. And honestly, it's a matter of prioritization. Tech teams bandwidth in any organization is somewhat of a challenge, and therefore it comes down to what is the bigger size of prize which is there. Of course, you can get a more personalized journey. Of course, you can get one more feature added in or any event passed in your CRM tool, which can make your journeys better. But if it's competing and coming at the cost of something bigger, that becomes a challenge, and that's something which is a reality. The other one is I think the unknowns. Even though there are, like you talked about, whether you have the right team navigating the MarTech stack, even with the right team, I think there are many unknowns which come, and newer use cases which come to light every day, or newer ideas which come to light every day, bring in their own sets of unknowns, which kind of makes you reinvent the wheel in certain cases, or makes you unlearn what you have learned in the past. So that for me is also a challenge as well as an opportunity, because that is how you kind of become better. So one is a very real life thing of the constraint in terms of the tech bandwidth. The other is the unknown. If you are basically very well versed with what is happening in your business, and if you go to sleep for 6 months, when you wake up after 6 months, you will find another world potentially. So that's a challenge. Which
is there a new team role you've created to get things going well? Is there like a completely different role that was not traditionally marketing that you have in your team?
See, I think at Domino's, we as an organization have changed the way we have structured the marketing team to make it more consumer tech marketing team. We earlier were potentially a very more QSR kind of oriented team. Now we have specialized verticals of performance marketing, CRM, revenue, etc., which is more akin to what you would see in a startup / a consumer tech organization. So that way, yes, we have reoriented our marketing teams to be in sync with what our goal is. As an organization, also our stated goal is to be a multi-country, multi-brand food tech powerhouse.
Got it. Okay, Sriram, do you want to go next? What are the challenges? How you solve for it? I guess we have about 5 minutes more for this panel to be over. I've got a reminder already, so maybe we can do a quick one.
Yeah, I think I'll go to add to what Sandeep mentioned in terms of people and the prioritization. I think it's about the connection of all the out-of-box solutions to an existing system. So there are legacy systems and there are constantly upgraded requirements. And so how do you make this new integrated system work? And that's really key to find innovative solutions to build middleware and to have pipes Because from a customer perspective, it still needs to be seamless. It needs to be real time. From a dealer perspective, it needs to be easy to execute. So the big, I guess, to add to the challenges that Sandeep mentioned, I'd say working on a digital solution which doesn't become so expensive and exorbitant that the ROI doesn't work at all. And I think that's what been my biggest challenge, and also our biggest, I guess, success in terms of how we made things work very fast in a global environment that we, that Nissan is, to bring solutions to market fairly quickly.
So that was a true finance professional speaking. He ended up with ROI. Shashank, you want to go next?
Yeah, so I think we all mentioned how marketing automation is helping us and so on and so forth. And just to borrow what you said, actually what Rumi said, that today, I'm wise enough to change myself. So the thing is that while we get these MarTech equipments, we get these MarTech systems in place, we at Maruti Suzuki are very conscious of the fact that as market leaders, we are actually at a disadvantage when it comes to facing disruption. So we are market leaders by definition because we do things currently much better. But when it comes to disruption and MarTech tools, technology itself is disrupting the process, we are very conscious of this fact. And therefore, we are trying to build an organization culture which overcomes this barrier or this handicap that we have. So, I mean, we are building, of course, and people are very important. We need to train the people. We need to build that organization structure itself, which enables these modern methods and, the quick changing world. And it's not just about marketing. By the way, in automobile, we are seeing technology changing even the product big time. So it's going to be really disruptive. And marketing is just one element of it. And Rumi also said, by the way, Lalit, that what you are seeking is seeking you. So what we are seeking really is market, people, if I can, with apologies to Rumi, that we are looking at customers. And of course, customers are also looking at that experience from us. So what we seek is what is seeking you as well. So we need to realize what we are doing, and surely the force will be with us if we follow exactly what people are seeking from us. That's what we believe is required, and we are making our structures accordingly.
Yeah, I think that was coming from the philosopher Shashank. I think it's I think Barack Obama said is we are the change that we seek, and essentially that's exactly what it is. Abhinav, you next, and then we'll have the lady closing the session for us.
I think so it is funny, what you said, because right, earlier in the day I was having a conversation with the logistics company. So last 5-6 months we've spent implementing the solution. Now the solution is all ready, it's all in place, whatever they wanted is there. But now their founders were having, and we were having conversations. They said, the team is not ready. You've implemented the system, yes, it is running, but is my team ready to now take on, all of this? And that is the challenge we are seeing, and I was reading recently, one of the Scott Brinker's, blog, it said, the CMOs are fearing that the team is not shaping up at the pace that they want. And I think that is, what we are seeing, from a marketing automation standpoint. Either people are really good at marketing or they're really good at technology, but are they able to, club it together and do it, in a manner which the business needs? That is, right now the biggest challenge what we are seeing in the industry across organizations. That is biggest thing we've seen. And new roles are being created all the time. Again, from the conversation today itself, he said, can you write down a new role for me? Literally, he said that, because they don't know what to hire for anymore. They have the system in place. They have all the systems integrated, but they don't know how to, run it now. And they want a new person. They said the marketing guy is really good, but he's really good with marketing. The sales leader is really good, but she's again good with selling. But how do you club those systems and make it work? You need one person to manage that, so to say.
Looks like Vodafone's got it right. Looks like Vodafone's got it right. They have a technologist who's a marketer. So the challenge you're speaking about that the marketers doesn't understand technology, technology doesn't understand marketing. At least Rima nahi bol sakti. Rima ke company nahi aise bol sakti. They'll say we've sorted it. It's all perfect.
So that's why we created a digital organization. So maybe I can give my perspective as well. So, I mean, I think there are two things I want to mention, right? One is on data and tech, and the second thing which I wanted to mention on the organization itself, right? So, and a lot of you mentioned about the data. So, traditional organization that we, right, Vodafone Idea, to be a very, very data rich, right? I mean, you can't imagine the kind of, CRM or the offline data we have. And now we are also trying to, get to, multiple digital channel and getting online data. And one of the biggest challenges for us has been, how do we, take this online and offline data, stitch it together, and try to, make sense out of the data. And that has been, our challenge now through, Data Lake or this customer data platform. We are trying to unlock the opportunity, and we realize that, if we want to compete with the digital native organizations, right, this is one thing which we have to unlock. And then having all the customer information in one place, really helps to drive a lot of agenda. Either it's hyper personalization, micro segmentation. There are multiple agendas which we can achieve through, having that customer information. Even the personalization piece, which I talked about. Today, what we're trying to create is trying to create the 360-degree view of the customer, their demographic, their personal experience, behavior. A lot of real-time action and insight, which we want to do from our, let's say, from a dropout journey, and all those models which we are, trying to build using advanced ML. So there's a lot of things which we are trying to do to unlock the value of the data because, we are a very data-rich organization. So that's one thing which I think we are not there yet, and there are challenges which we need to, overcome. But the second piece which I wanted to, talk about an organization, one thing which we have realized that there are multiple players in this thing, right? There is an IT, there's a product team, then there is a marketing team. Then, if you look at operations, you have also a, sales team which is involved, right? How do we really, make all these things work together, right? And what we have done is, and that's why we've kind of created a digital organization and we've created squads. We said, irrespective of which team you are from, there is one squad and there is one goal, right? And all of you are getting measured on that squad model, right? So let's say, for example, for acquisition, digital acquisition, if our target is to have, let's say, 20,000 acquisition in a month, just hypothetically, right? Then everyone in that squad has one single goal. And be it, what kind of campaigns you ran, what kind of offers you have rolled out, or what kind of experience and experimentation you have done on the web page, what kind of traffic you have generated to, top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel activities, right? And that's where, we're trying to work with, multiple squads across multiple digital, priorities which we have. And we're trying to see how do we break those organization silos so that the team come together and then everyone has just one, North Star metrics and everyone gets measured on that. So that's for us, one of the big things we're trying to drive in the overall organization.
Oh, I think very well said, Rima. I think it's a great point, right? I think I'm just seeing how we run these large personalization projects. And I think the core of all of this is agile squads. And right, a cross-functional team across the organization, just having one goal, everybody's KPIs aligned to that goal, whether you're a finance person, whether you're a design person, whether you're a marketing person or you're a sales person. If you're in that squad, your numbers, your aligned, your KPIs, everything's around to that. And I think that becomes the heart of making it work. Finally, it's all about people. And I think
let's say, for example,
all of you said the same thing.
Yeah. Let's say marketing says, I got you, 20x traffic.
Yeah.
So what? Did you lead to conversion? Was it a quality
Absolutely.
traffic, right? So those are the kind of challenges we are kind of challenging each other and trying to see how do we drive those.
No, fabulous. I think agile is when I asked about change in the organization, I think one change you have to bring is basically agility, and the org needs to be structured around agility, around creating these agile squads, around changing KPIs, with HR working on it, with finance working on it. Everybody's goals linked to that, and I think you brought it out rightly. Thanks everyone. Thank you so much. I think we had a good discussion. Some bit of laughter, some pizzas still pending, some car drives still pending. And finally we have to ask this question to Shashank, kitna deti hai, right? In that sense, the famous Maruti line. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure, interacting with all of you. Thanks for having me as part of your panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for covering all the possible aspects of the topic. Now let's proceed to the next session. Stay tuned.